Hello dear chess fans, my name is Eugene Grinis. Welcome to my free chess school, from beginners to advanced, open for everyone who want to improve own game. This video with some tactical exercises is intended for the beginners. There are some practical opening rules for beginners which are usually worth remembering. These rules are: 1. Open with either the e-pawn or the d-pawn. 2. Wherever possible, make a good developing move which threatens something. 3. Develop knights before bishops. 4. Pick the most suitable square for a piece and develop it there once and for all. Or do not move your piece twice without a strong reason. 5. Make 1 or 2 pawn moves in the opening, not more. 6. Do not bring your queen out early. 7. Castle as soon as possible, preferably on the king's side. 8. Play to get control of the center. 9. Always try to maintain at least 1 pawn in the center. 10. Do not sacrifice without a clear reason. 11. Complete your development before you attack. 12. Pay attention to your opponent's moves. 13. Avoid exchanging bishops for knights. And rule number 14. Fight for space. Now, let's take a look at the following game. e4. Rule number 1. e5. Knight f3. Developing the knight before bishops, rule number 3, and attacking the e5 pawn, rule number 2. Both whites and blacks' initial moves, e4 and e5, are perfectly natural and normal. Both assist development and affect central squares. Rule number 8. Play to get control of the center. Knight c6, developing the knight and defending the e5 pawn. d4, attacking the e5 pawn. This opening is called Scotch Game, a perfectly logical idea. White plays for a central break with d4. White's major goal is to exchange the enemy e-pawn for his own d-pawn. Why? Because by doing so he sets up the pawn structure where his powerful e4 pawn in the center gives him more space. Rule number 14. Fight for space. White's mobility is greater because of that pawn. Unfortunately, the counter-attack against the white's e-pawn is quite effective, and that's why d2, d4 at a very early stage of a game leads to nothing for white because of black's counter-attack. Most of the openings after e4, e5 open games lead to open positions. Rapid, effective development and king safety are the most important factors. In most of these openings, the key move for black to equalize is d7, d5. It may be adopted as a good working rule that once black succeeds in playing d5 without any immediate harmful consequences, he has equalized. Pawn takes pawn, the only good move in this position. Knight takes pawn on d4, attacking the knight on c6. Queen to h4, attacking the e4 pawn. This is an old continuation, but remember rule number 6. Do not bring your queen out early. Knight b5, attacking the c7 pawn. In another game, white played knight c3, defending the e4 pawn with the knight. Knight f6, attacking the e4 pawn with 2 pieces. Knight f5, attacking the queen. Queen to h5. Bishop e2, attacking the queen. Queen g6. Now, how can white win material in this position? What is the right continuation? You have 20 seconds for the answer. Please pause the video. Knight h4, trapping the queen. Black resigned. Let's go back to our game. Knight b5 was played. Queen takes pawn on e4, check. This is the second queen moves. Better was bishop b4, check. Knight d2, bishop a5, defending the c7 pawn with the bishop, with an equal position. Let's go back to the game. Queen takes pawn on e4. Bishop e3, developing the bishop. Bishop b4, check. Knight d2, bishop takes knight, check. Queen takes bishop on d2, developing the queen. King d8, defending the c7 pawn with the king. White castles queen side. Rule number 7. Castle as soon as possible. Queen e6, attacking the a2 pawn. This is the third queen move. Rule number 4. Do not move your piece twice without a strong reason. Bishop f4, attacking the c7 pawn with 2 pieces. d6. Here follows Bishop takes pawn on d6, sacrificing the bishop. Pawn takes bishop. Knight takes pawn on d6. Queen takes a2 was played. If king to c7, then follows bishop c4, developing the bishop and attacking the queen. Queen to h6, knight takes pawn on f7, queen takes queen, check, rook takes queen, knight f6, developing the knight. Knight takes rook on h8, winning. And if king to e7, then follows bishop c4, developing the bishop and attacking the queen. Queen to f6, rook h to e1, check, bringing the last piece into the game. Bishop e6. Now follows knight takes pawn on f7. If queen takes knight, then bishop takes bishop, attacking the queen. Queen to f6, queen d6, check, king e8, the only move. Bishop takes knight on g8, discovered, check. Knight e7. Now, can you find mate in 3 in this position? Please pause the video. The first move is queen d7, check. King f8, the only move. If you didn't find mate in 3, can you find mate in 2 in this position? You have 20 seconds for it. Please pause the video. Queen d8, check. The queen has to be taken. Rook takes rook, checkmate. Let's go back to this position. Knight takes pawn on f7. If king to f8, then follows rook takes bishop, attacking the queen. Queen takes knight on f7. Now, how can white win material in this position? Please pause the video. Rook takes knight on c6, defending the bishop on c4, which attacks the queen. Queen to e7, queen f4, check, knight f6, developing the knight. Rook c7, attacking the queen. Queen to b4. Now, can you find mate in 3 in this position? Please pause the video. The first move is rook f7 check. If king to e8, can you find mate in 2 in this position? Please pause the video. Queen e5 check. Queen e7 the only response. Queen takes queen, checkmate. Mate with queen and rook. Let's go back to this position. Rook f7 check. If king to g8, can you find mate in 2 in this position? Please pause the video. Rook takes knight on f6. Discovered check. Queen takes bishop on c4, the only move. Queen takes queen, checkmate. Let's go back to the game. Queen takes pawn on a2 was played. Knight b5. Discovered check. King to e8 was played. If king to e7, can you find mate in 2 in this position? Please pause the video. Queen d6 check. King e8 the only move. If you didn't find mate in 2, can you find mate in 1 in this position? You have 10 seconds for it. Please pause the video. Knight c7 checkmate. Let's go back to the game. King to e8 was played. Knight c7 check. If king to e7, can you find mate in 1 in this position? You have 10 seconds for it. Please pause the video. Queen d6 checkmate. Let's go back to the game. Knight c7 check. King to f8 was played. Now, can you find mate in 3 in this position? Please pause the video. The first move is Queen d6 check. Knight g to e7, developing the knight. If you didn't find mate in 3, can you find mate in 2 in this position? Please pause the video. Queen d8 check, sacrificing the queen. The queen has to be taken. Rook takes knight on d8, checkmate. Now let's take a look at the following game. e4, rule number 1. e5, knight f3, developing the knight before bishops, rule number 3, and attacking the e5 pawn, rule number 2. Knight c6, developing the knight and defending the e5 pawn. d4, attacking the e5 pawn. Scotch game. Pawn takes pawn, the only good move. Knight takes pawn on d4, attacking the knight on c6. Knight g to e7. This is not a good move. Better was knight f6, attacking the e4 pawn, or bishop c5, attacking the knight on d4. Let's go back. Knight g to e7 was played. Knight c3, developing the knight before bishops. Rule number 3. g6. This is already a mistake. Black should play knight takes knight on d4, queen takes knight, knight c6, attacking the queen, queen to e3, bishop e7, developing the bishop with an advantage for white. Let's go back to the game. g6 was played. Bishop g5, developing the bishop and pinning the knight on e7. Bishop g7, developing the bishop and attacking the knight on d4 with 2 pieces. In this position, white plays knight to d5, attacking the knight on e7 with 2 pieces. Bishop takes knight on d4. If h6, attacking the bishop on g5, then follows knight takes knight on c6, attacking the queen, pawn takes knight, bishop takes knight on e7, attacking the queen, queen to d7, knight f6 check, knight fork, the knight has to be taken, bishop takes bishop on f6, and white has an extra piece and the winning position. Let's go back to the game. Bishop takes knight on d4 was played. In this position, white plays queen takes bishop on d4, sacrificing the queen. Knight takes queen. But why did white sacrifice the queen? Can you find mate in 2 in this position? Please pause the video. Knight f6 check, king f8, the only move. If you didn't find mate in 2, can you find mate in 1 in this position? You have 10 seconds for it. Please pause the video. Bishop h6, checkmate. A beautiful mate with bishop and knight. Okay, that's the lesson for today from the Eugene Grinis Chess School. I hope it was useful and you enjoyed it. If so, push likes, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and leave comments. And the last question for today. Did you find an Easter egg in this video? This is another interesting video for you. Firstly, you can always find it in the video description. And secondly, you can catch it in the last 10 seconds of the video. Thanks for watching.